In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, God is one. Good morning. Christ is risen. We're doing things a bit differently again today because the internet is also not playing ball. There's a satellite that brings it to us, I think, and then it's then beamed into the whole valley from here to everybody else. And if our box goes wrong, then everybody's box goes wrong and nobody can receive the internet. So we're not able to receive the internet. I've got a different source of the internet here, but it's very slow. And we'd have a lot of buffering, so that'd be no good at all. It's a cold and miserable day here today, and not so miserable maybe, but it's certainly cold and very blowy in the night, a huge amount of wind during the night, but not so cold that it's killed off all the apple blossoms. So we never know. There's still a possibility that we'll get apples this year. Apparently you get apples about 1 year in 3 at this altitude. Maybe less than that, but we'll see. So far, so good. It's looking possible. The goslings are still growing. They're still 7 out of 7, so they've done quite well there. I thought to begin with there were 8, but when I looked at my earlier photographs, I can see now that there were only ever 7 of them. What else is happening? That the lambs are growing like mad in the fields around here, and you can begin to hear a slight difference in their calls. They're not quite so high calls, they're getting lower. They're getting, their voices seem to be breaking or something. I don't know what's going on, but maybe just the lambs are getting bigger, so that's what's happening there. Yesterday I did a lot of gardening, and amongst other things I used a rotavator for the first time. Well, that was quite an exciting thing. Thank you very much, Dan and Anastasia gave the monastery the rotavator. I managed to dig an area of ground in a matter of 15 minutes that would have taken me at least an hour and a half to do previously. Not very deep, but it didn't need to be dug very deep, and the soil here is very thin anyway, so that worked exceedingly well. And I've planted out the herbs that were busy hardening off, and I've checked this morning and they all seem to be growing quite nicely, so that's also good news. Today we're going to be looking at Mark chapter 1, and we're going to go back in time slightly. So chapter 1 verses 17 and onwards. Verse 17 starts off like this: Then Jesus said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you become fishers of men." And immediately left their nets and followed him. Now Jesus is talking to Simon and his brother Andrew. You'll remember yesterday they were walking along the side of at the edge of the sea, or the edge of the land, same thing, but the place between two different realms, and the Lord of course inhabiting both those realms of heaven and also of earth, and also safety on the land and lack of safety, danger on the sea. And the way that calling them out of the sea, which symbolically is dangerous, but for them meant security because they're fishermen, onto the land, which for most people means safety, but for them meant insecurity because they're still fishermen and now they had no job. They go from spiritual insecurity to being spiritually secure, but physically for them the other way round. This morning in the monastery we read in 2 Corinthians, round about chapter 12, where St. Paul lists all the ways that he suffered. He's been shipwrecked 3 times, spent a day and a night in the sea itself. He's been beaten so many times, stripes without number, he says. Been imprisoned, he's been beaten with rods, he's been stoned once, he's been left for dead, and so on and so on. So their physical security goes completely out of the window, but their spiritual security is now intact because they're following behind Christ. And Jesus says to them, "Follow me, and I will make you become fishers of men." Now, fishers of men, that's a really important thing. First of all, let's start off with the men part. The Greek word there is anthropos. Now, aner means males. So if they're fishers of males, he would have said, I'll make you fishers of aner, except in the plural. But here he's saying, I'll make you fishers of anthropy, of men. Anthropos means people, persons. A person, male or female, young or old, baby, child, young person, pais, right the way through to being an old grampus like me. And they are to be fishers of everybody. And it doesn't say, I'll make you fishers of the Jews. It says, I'll make you fishers of mankind, humanity. Making you fishermen of persons, everybody, everywhere, of all types and kinds. There's really only one type and one kind, and that is people. And all of us being sons and daughters of Adam and Eve. So the universality of the gospel is immediately proclaimed by the Lord there. And there's another thing there that's quite interesting, and that is being a fisherman. Well, fishermen don't do that for the good of the fish. They pull them out of the water, the fish drown in the air, gasping for water, gasping to breathe, and they die of suffocation, usually, or they're smacked on the head with a stick, and then they are scaled, gutted, cooked and eaten. But that is not the sort of fishermen that Andrew and Simon Peter are going to become. They are going to go back into the dangerous waters of the world and pull out of the dangerous sea, the place which is spiritually insecure. Pull out of the dangerous sea, not using a hook and line, but by using a net that gathers everybody. So everybody is gathered in and pulled out of the sea and put onto dry land. So we go from suffocating and spiritual insecurity and the danger and the spiritual danger of the demonic sea. And you'll remember, that's where the demons went when they got into the pigs. They ran straight down into the sea and drowned themselves. They went back into the sea. From that we go onto the dry land, the place where we can find spiritual security. Now some of us, of course, choose to flap our way back into the sea, and that's up to them. Some of us wriggle through the net, that's up to you. Some of us split the net and get out and go back into the sea. But for those of us who wish to be on the dry land, this is the way of being on the dry land with Christ. And then we too, like Peter, Simon Peter and Andrew, and later James and John and the others, are able then to follow him along on the dry land towards the Holy Cross. That'll be enough for today, otherwise it's going to take absolutely ages for this to upload. But God bless everybody who's watching this. I notice that very many more people see this after it has been live streamed than before. So God bless you also. If you want to leave messages, ask questions, or anything like that, you can't leave it on the side this time. I think that side is on there. You have to leave it in the comments box underneath. And you might choose also, if you want to subscribe, which is a little button down there, and there's a little bell next to it, and click that one, then you'll know when it's coming on for next time. Christ is risen. Christ is always risen. Make sure you have that joy in your hearts. Your prayers. God bless you. I'm going to switch this off. I'm in my kitchen actually. No, I haven't done the washing up, so I'm not going to show you. Your prayers. God bless you.